Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really special. We're looking at that perfect, fascinating intersection where high-end cinematic technique meets the profound, ancient spirituality of Hindu weddings. And we're going to explore this through the incredible work of Chitrakala's studio. We'll see how they master the art of the frame, literally turning sacred, centuries-old traditions into a modern cinematic legacy. We're going to break down the exact lighting setups, the documentary theories, and the deep cultural insights you absolutely need to document an event of this magnitude. So, how do you capture the soul of a 15-ritual ceremony? It's a massive, high-stakes question, right? Just imagine stepping onto a set where your cast numbers in the hundreds, the emotions are dialed up to 11, the colors are just exploding everywhere, and absolutely nothing is scripted. How on earth do you capture the authentic soul of such a beautiful, chaotic, multi-day marathon without missing a single crucial heartbeat? That brings us to our first section, the Wedding Cinematographer's Challenge, navigating the unscripted. To really wrap our heads around the scale of this challenge, just consider this number, 15. You see, unlike a typical Western ceremony that might wrap up neatly in, say, 30 minutes, a traditional Hindu wedding is an absolute marathon. We're talking 15 or more distinct, incredibly fast-paced rituals. You can go ahead and toss your perfectly timed shot list right out the window because you literally cannot script reality when it's moving this fast. Every single one of these moments brings its own visual language, a totally unique emotional arc, and trust me, some major positioning challenges for the camera crew. Moving right along to Section 2, Framing the Documentary Narrative, Structuring Reality. To wrangle a marathon like this, expert cinematographers, like the team over at Chitrakala Studio, really lean into what documentary filmmakers call the observational mode. The main goal here? Be the ultimate fly on the wall. You want to record events exactly as they unfold with minimal intervention. But, well, here's the paradox. You can't script what hasn't happened yet, right? So this demands some intense pre-production planning. The crew has to know the cultural script inside and out, so they can actually anticipate the action before someone even moves a muscle. So how exactly do we build that visual script? Well, the cinematographer has to blend that fly-on-the-wall approach with a more poetic mode. Now, the poetic mode steps away from strict linear logic and instead prioritizes mood, tone, rhythm, and visual associations. It's really about structuring reality. By locking into the rhythm of the rituals and finding those vibrant visual associations, a talented cinematographer can take hours and hours of raw, totally unscripted footage and mold it into a coherent, deeply emotional story in the edit. Which leads us to Section 3, Mastering Cinematic Lighting Techniques, Illuminating the Narrative. Okay, let's get into the technical foundation of how this is actually achieved on the fly. The absolute cornerstone of professional lighting is the three-point lighting setup. First up, you've got your key light. This is your main source of illumination, and you ideally want to place it at a 45-degree angle to your subject to give their face some nice dimension. Second is the fill light. You pop this on the opposite side to control and soften any of those harsh shadows the key light just made. And finally, the backlight or rim light, which goes right behind the subject. Now, this perfectly illustrates why that backlight is such a game changer. When a rim light is placed just right, it creates what we call a halo effect. It literally draws this crisp, beautiful line of light around the subject's shoulders and hair. Think about this in the context of an Indian wedding, where the mandap, the wedding canopy, is usually packed with incredibly elaborate, busy decor and vibrant flowers. This halo effect is the exact thing that physically separates the couple from that busy background. Yes, it establishes cinematic depth, but it also visually represents this beautiful, metaphysical, spiritual glow around the bride and groom. On top of that, a great cinematographer has to master color temperature, which is measured in Kelvin. If you're shooting indoor or night scenes with tungsten lights, setting your camera to 3200 Kelvin makes sure skin tones look completely natural in that warm environment. But for daytime outdoor setups, you've got to shift to 5600 Kelvin to match the cool daylight. Mastering these values is way more than just checking a technical box. It's literally how you make sure the warm, intimate glow of an indoor mandap feels entirely different from the cool, chaotic joy of an outdoor morning ritual. Let's jump to Section 4, Anticipating Pre-Wedding Rituals, the build-up to the mandap. Take a look at the rapid chronological succession of these events. A top-tier studio like Chitrakala knows they have to perfectly anticipate this exact timeline. You can't just show up, hit record, and hope for the best. You really have to understand the deep spiritual weight of every single step in this sacred sequence so you know exactly where to point your lens at any given second. It always kicks off with the Ganesh Puja. Lord Ganesh is invoked as the Vigna Vinashak, the remover of obstacles. The family is quite literally praying for a smooth, obstacle-free wedding. Visually speaking, capturing those beautiful offerings of red flowers, modak, and coconut really establishes the spiritual foundation of the whole film. It serves as this essential, quiet, grounding opening shot for our documentary narrative. Then, from the quiet devotion of the puja, we launch right into the vibrant energy of the haldi ceremony. This is where a fragrant yellow turmeric paste is playfully smeared on the bride and groom by their families. And it isn't just for fun, though it is a blast. It symbolizes deep purification, warding off negative energy, and marking that big transition into married life. For a cinematographer, this is an absolute dream scenario, assuming you can keep the flying turmeric paste off your very expensive lenses. Those rich, textured yellow hues and all that joyous, unscripted laughter give you incredible material for crafting those emotional visual associations we talked about. But then we reach the muhurtham, the highly auspicious moment of the wedding proper, and specifically, the antarpat drop. The antarpat is this cloth held between the bride and groom so they can't see each other. When it finally drops, it's their first look. I really want you to think about this from a filmmaker's perspective. This whole thing happens in a split second. If your key light isn't set, if your camera angle is blocked by someone stepping in front of you, or if you just aren't perfectly positioned, you have completely lost the emotional climax of the ceremony. There are 0-second takes. And that brings us to Section 5, capturing the sacred vows, the climax of the cosmic union. Following those initial rituals, the couple performs the Mangal Phera, where they circle the sacred Agni, or fire. The fire acts as the ultimate holy witness to their union. Now, technically speaking, this is a moment of highly dynamic movement. Your subjects are constantly walking, the ambient light from the fire is flickering, and the background is shifting with every single step. It demands incredibly quick camera adjustments, perfect exposure balancing, and usually a flawless execution of that three-point lighting we discussed to make sure the couple doesn't just disappear into the shadows as they move around. And all of this culminates in the Saptapadi, the 7 steps. But why the number 7? Well, beyond the spiritual vows of health, wealth, and friendship taken with each step, there is a totally fascinating mathematical and spiritual philosophy at play here. Think about it. A circle is 360 degrees. The number 7 is the only single digit between 1 and 9 that cannot perfectly divide 360. By taking exactly 7 steps around the fire, the implication is that their relationship, their circle, can now never be divided. It is the absolute spiritual climax of the wedding. So, the crucial takeaway here is this powerful metaphor. On the surface, we're watching a physical action, just 2 people taking 7 steps around a fire. But through the lens of Hindu tradition and through the highly intentional framing of an expert cinematographer, we are actually witnessing a profound metaphysical transformation. It's the forging of an eternal, unbreakable cosmic union that's said to span 7 lifetimes. The mundane, physical world is literally elevated into the sacred. Ultimately, documenting an event of this magnitude is so much more than just hitting the record button. It takes the technical precision to perfectly light a scene on the fly, the documentary instincts to anticipate a split-second emotional climax, and the deep cultural empathy to understand the profound spiritual weight of an indivisible 360-degree circle. So, I'll leave you with this thought. By blending technical mastery with deep cultural observation, how will you use light and framing to tell your next true story? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.